Welcome back to the Spin Cycle Podcast, everybody. I'm Caley Fretz. Today on the show, Remco has flown the coop. Michael Storer is an egg thief. And the Transcontinental's youngest winner. Let's get to it. I think if you heard that little intro line and the three things we're going to be talking about, you may be able to guess who's on the pod with us today.
Who is that, potentially? Who could be the third microphone in this episode?
Who could be bringing us a Michael Storer egg thief story?
Alleged egg thief. Alleged.
Welcome to the show, Ian Treller. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, hi.
And Jonny Long, we heard you too.
Yep, I'm here as always.
As always. Well, let's we're gonna hold off on Michael Storer egg thief just for a little bit. And the entire second part of this show is actually Michael Storer Street. We're gonna start off with the shock transfer of Remco Evenepoel. If I could get some YouTube shocked faces from everybody. Good job. The worst kept secret in transfer news was finally confirmed this week, confirmed on Tuesday, just about 12 hours too late for us to get to it on the Monday show, I think is what it was. Just classic move on their part. But Remco Evenepoel is officially headed to Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe, which again is something that we reported in the beginning of July. We knew was happening. We were just kind of waiting for it to be confirmed. But it now has been. The press release was initially sent out by his not former team. He's there until the end of the year. But the team that he is leaving, Quickstep. A bit of a spicy press release. Jonny?
Did you think? I didn't read into it that much.
I mean, as press releases go, which is just normally sort of the blandest of bland copy, the fact that they felt the need to sort of like remind everybody that they were going to be fine without him felt a little, it was a little like, you get two friends and they break up, right? And both of them say that it was sort of their idea. It gave me sort of those vibes, right? They weren't quite saying it was their idea, but they're saying, we don't need him. We don't need Remco.
Are you saying this is the step on from announcing that something is mutually agreed? So you know how we had Ralph Aldag and Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe because of the Remco coming into the show, saying that they both parties are described by mutual agreement to go separate ways. So because Quickstep can't say that because they are getting broken up with, they have to be like, no, we're just gonna take some time for ourselves. We're maybe gonna go to Bali for 3 months, eat some yogurt, maybe start a software as a service business and get a tan and bounce back. Which, not the worst idea for Quickstep. I think, to be honest, being a GC team around Remco was kind of sapping the vibe a bit.
Yeah,
we
100%.
We lacked them at the classics, which was always good fun. We had to basically live vicariously through the Tom Boonen dancing on the stage with Yves Lampard music. Sorry, Ian's got a correction already.
I think we also lived vicariously through Yves Lampard consistently getting like 8th to 12th at a comic classic.
But that wasn't as nourishing as Yves Lampard dancing up and down on a stage. Sure. Different meals for different boys. But so I think it's maybe worked out right now in August 2025. With hindsight, will work out better for Quickstep. Maybe won't work out for Remco or Red Bull because the grass is always greener, right? Remco he's making this move to get some more money because they can afford to pay Remco more. Yep. Maybe adding a couple of million euros onto an already like 4 or 5 million euro sized contract, which, if you've got 5 million, you need 6 or 7. Everyone knows that. I don't need to tell you that. Get more support, both in terms of the teammates who have it at his disposal, in terms of, performance support, all with the aim of potentially winning the Tour de France. And even if they don't manage to do it, you would think that he has a better chance at Red Bull of doing so than if he's stuck with Quickstep for the whole of his career.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Florian Lipowitz question is still a big question. The Roglic question is still a big question. We don't really know. We've heard that Roglic's contract has been extended through to the end of 2026, but the team hasn't confirmed that, and the previous contract we know ended at the end of this year. So until we see confirmation somewhere, we're going to assume that Roglic is out the door at the end of this year. I still think he'll probably be around next year, but you've got a pile of GC contenders there, including one who just stood on the podium at the Tour de France and outlasted and outrode Remco Evenepoel himself in Lipowitz. So I do think that they're going to have a little bit of finagling to do to make sure that everybody stays happy there. I think that realistically, you put Lipowitz in the Giro, he potentially wins that, right? He's a very good bike racer. And maybe you can convince Roglic to go back to a support role, even though that's why he left Visma to begin with.
There has been a lot of people coming out to bat for Lipowitz this week, which, fine, he finished on the Tour podium. Young rider coming through, potentially could do the business. Don't want to poo-poo it, but how many guys have we seen finish third and then not necessarily come close to actually winning it? They're two different prospects, right? And that applies for Evenepoel, but you can't really compare Evenepoel this year to Lipowitz because he's running around with a broken rib and probably would have dusted Lipowitz if he'd been in the same race. And 2024 Remco was definitely much closer to Vingegaard and Pogačar than to the rest of the field. So I don't think we need to come out, and become cycling doesn't need to become a Lipowitz fan club, okay? We can like Remco too. We'd have to just jump on Remco now because he had one bad tour.
I'd also say that in terms of the pecking order, I would expect that Remco still carries a bit of heft over Lipitz, who is a nice, polite young German man as opposed to a brash, forthright Belgian man.
Ouch.
Well, and I think in that sort of pecking order, Lipitz comes off second.
Well, especially because Bora have got rid of a lot of the backroom staff who were there with Lipowitz and Roglic this tour and replaced it with Remco guys. So that kind of tells you all you need to know about where the team's course is set for.
Yeah, the former Belgian national team coach has come over. Ralph Aldag is out. So yeah, we talked about this I think a bit when we were discussing the move more generally before. But yeah, he's building a sort of team around him, and it's becoming a bit of his team, which I think I mentioned on Monday is a bit surprising to me. It's a bit surprising that Red Bull would sort of allow that, but maybe it was just sort of that's part and parcel to the move. Maybe they couldn't get him to move unless they promised such things, and it's sort of the place that pro cycling is in right now. That these top riders, there's so few of them that they can kind of demand whatever the heck they want. I do want to return to the press release.
Okay.
I'm stuck on this.
You've never seen you so interested in the press release.
We strongly believe in the team spirit that earned us the title of the Wolfpack, and we will continue to strive to be a collective that is stronger than any one individual.
Thank you. You did not earn the title of the Wolfpack. You gave yourself the title of the Wolfpack. There's nothing earned about that. It's just like, oh, okay, we will put that on the back of our bus.
I'm just so like normally these press so basically this press release, which I'm not going to read in its entirety because it's
well, we've pretty much done it.
It's a couple more paragraphs. But like normally this press release is just the top two paragraphs, right? It's this is happening, and then like one paragraph of a little bit of context, which is basically in this case it says representatives of Remco informed the team's management that he did not wish to discuss an extension of his current agreement. So basically, I'm paraphrasing here, they decided that it would be best for all parties if he left. End of press release, right? But then we get these two paragraphs of Quickstep defending its honor. And I just really, really enjoy them. Since its inception in 2003, our team has seen many iterations and changes while continuing to develop into one of the most successful teams in the history of professional cycling, and recently became the first professional cycling team to reach 1,000 UCI wins. While we regret Remco's decision to leave, we will foster the memories that we have made and will continue to strive together to achieve some significant results for the rest of the season.
Huge breakup
Come
energy.
on,
We
guys.
don't need him.
Come on, guys.
Huge breakup energy.
I'm going to be fine. I'm going to go out on the town and everyone's going to hit on me.
sidling up to anyone who'll listen to the bar being like, did you know I've got 1,000 UCI victories? They're back at my place. Yeah, awful vibes. Like, I like Quickstep. They're good value across the whole, but you need to be magnanimous in this situation. Like, anyone who has a bit of self-respect, you gotta, like, they shouldn't have even done a press release. They should have just, like, waited till some, well-trodden Belgian journalist finally had the balls to ask them a straight-up question about this situation, and then just been like, oh yeah, Remco, oh yeah, he's going. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We've got Jasper Stuyven coming in. Have you heard he makes chocolate? Like, come on, that's what you got to do.
Whilst we're on the sort of press release and adjacent,
Yeah.
have you seen the pictures from Remco Evenepoel's signing of the Red Bull contract?
I saw them briefly. To be honest, there's too much Remco this week, so
There's too much Remco. But what got my attention about this amount of Remco in the pictures? Like, clearly they've got a professional photographer there. There's the family, and then a Belgian footballer, Romelo Lukaku.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
He just called in. He was just just called in on Zoom or whatever. He's just there on the phone watching the signing. I don't know if they're friends or what, but apparently they share like a management. So I don't know if Lukaku's just called in and been like, I had a meeting at this time. What are you doing? Why is this photo shoot going on so long? I wanted to talk about a transfer. But anyway, Lukaku's just there on the phone.
Yeah, I've just seen that. That's insane. How did I miss that?
Like, administration the
so
signing.
cross. The picture, like the pictures in black and white and the watch stuff, it's just giving the energy that Remco's gonna try and tell me how, if I sign up for his course, he's gonna tell me how to make like 10k a month online, and I don't like it. I don't like where the culture is currently.
Yeah, I totally missed Lukaku showing up. Ian, for your benefit, or anybody else who doesn't have any idea who this individual is, look, for some time, one of the best soccer players on the planet. Very good striker. Yeah. You could put him in a top 40 or something like that. I don't know.
Top 40. So
top
in
25?
the top 4 teams.
I mean,
he's pretty good. He's all right.
He was pretty good. He's kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit, but has zero, as far as I know, other than apparently the shared management, like zero actual connection to Remco Evenepoel. So an interesting,
and the other
interesting
thing,
one.
The other thing they both played for Anderlecht at some point. That's
maybe they know each other.
Maybe a connection. So maybe they're buddies. But there's like an 8-year age gap. So I don't understand why he's showed up.
That's bizarre. Great. I love it. Well, thank you, Ian. That's great. That's made my day.
I realized that I was the one that someone derailed this with my love of the press release. I should say, I genuinely like this press release. I think this is an honest press release, right? This is we are hurt, we are sad, but we're going to get through it press release. And I genuinely, I know it sounds like I'm taking the piss out of it. I wish more press releases were like this, because it's just like, this team just spent like 4 years building everything around this one guy, and then he's like, nah, I'm out of here.
Can you imagine a scenario in which Mikkel Landa ends up at Quickstep without the Remco Evenepoel arc? Like, it's just
this is what I mean. This is what I mean. It's like, I genuinely, I have never, ever felt bad for Patrick Lefevre until like this week, and I was like, that kind of sucks. Like, this, you build the whole thing around him. He's the next great Belgian hope. He is genuinely the only Belgian hope at this point, because it's the back tail of his career. He's got a lifelong contract with Visma. He's the guy, right? And it couldn't make it work, and they couldn't make it work basically because they couldn't scrape enough cash together, and they couldn't build the team. This was more than just, I think it's a combination of salary, which, okay, as you said, Jonny, if you make $5 million, obviously you need to make $7 million. How do you even survive without it, to be honest? But it's also like they couldn't build the team around him that he wanted. No. They just didn't have the cash.
And Dan Bigham.
Yeah,
Dan Bigham's a big draw, I imagine.
And there are reasons to go to Red Bull just as much as there are reasons, that he ended up wanting to leave Quickstep. But you've got to kind of feel for the team, and you can kind of feel it. Like, we know the people that work there. We chat with them. We have, at the very least, sort of, we work alongside them. you feel for him a little bit, and I feel
Well, yeah.
you get that out of the press release, and I kind of
Yeah.
appreciate it. If we do kind of turn into the we've talked a little bit about what this sort of means for Quickstep, I think already, and what was it? Did Dane write that piece? I believe Dane wrote a piece
Yeah.
on the story this week about kind of what it means for that team. I mean, really, it means a return to form, a return to what they've always done, and
More of this.
more classic stuff, more cobbles, which I think is in the long run is a good thing for them. There's not a whole lot else to be said about that. They've signed Stuyven. They're trying to get Van Barle. They, I imagine, will be looking for other young Belgian classics talents, of which there are always a plethora, and so they'll try to pick those up. We touched briefly on what it means for Red Bull, but what does it mean for Remco? Like, is this going to get him what he wanted?
Well, does anyone actually want what they think they want? If we want to get philosophical about it, like how good is any human at actually knowing truly what their heart desires? It's an impossible task that people spend their lives pondering. But what this gives both Remco and Red Bull is runway. This is a key thing in a lot of sports, especially your American-based bull sports, is that you need a runway for a project with sort of defined parameters, but a number of years over which to try and execute it. So what you have here is a new superstar coming in with coaches and like Ralph Denk, the Red Bull sort of big boss. And what they say is, okay, this project is to win Remco, or win the Tour de France with Remco. Remco's young enough that for the next 5, maybe more years, you could conceivably be like, okay, this project, this is what we're doing every year. And if it takes a few years to go, you can still sort of have some juice, some energy about following this plan. And it means that not just like the Roglic plan was the original plan to, I guess win the Tour, even if it was not going to happen. But it was more, we're going to give him leadership. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Didn't work. He's older, so less runway. But it's perfect, It's like UAE. Everyone at UAE has a job for as long as Pogacar rides.
Right.
Pretty much.
Right.
And you want a chance to compete, but you also want a level of security and stability, I guess.
Yeah.
So, and Red Bull attracted by shiny Remco, shiny gold helmet that will now have a gold bull on it, which is
fun.
Which is great, I guess. Fun. Maybe that's what the extra million was for. But yeah, for Remco, extra performance support, better climbing core so he's not just kind of abandoned when he gets ousted in the Tour de France, which is tough. We saw how much he said before this tour how much he's going to miss Mikel Landa. Now he's got a bunch of guys that he'll first, I guess, have to win over and be like, I'm the main guy now. Sorry, I've just come in and kind of I'm eating your lunch.
Dan Bigham, which you mentioned before. Dan Bigham has to be. I mean, he's essentially the sports leading optimization expert and aerodynamicist, right?
You have leading aerodynamicist, most aerodynamic man on the planet.
Yep.
So we've got to be careful about any sort of black hole time vortex situations.
That's got to be part of it. And frankly, we know that the Tour de France is perfectly happy to design courses based on who it knows is going to be racing. When Sky showed up and had this big British project and had time trialists that were going to potentially win the Tour de France, lo and behold, ASO, knowing what a good story that is and what a good narrative that is, built a 2012, I think it was, the Wiggins Tour with 100K of time trialing. I would imagine it was horrible. I imagine that we see something like that over the next couple of years, right? Like, it's the one place where if you put a 45, 50K time trial, which we haven't seen in a long time, if you put one of those in a Tour de France, you are essentially giving Remco a 90-second head start on even a flying Pogacar in a good year for both of them, right?
What about if we do it in the 2027 Tour de France, when we obviously start in Britain, and the time trial is through the Channel Tunnel? Because that must be, 40, 50K long? I think someone's ridden through it before, at least part of it. Yeah, I think so. I think it might have been like a Team Sky sort of advertisement
I
thing.
was going to say next to a dual carriageway, which is the way you guys like to do your time trials.
We could do that as well.
Yeah.
Just the only way to
The
make time
bus-
trials even more depressing.
The bus is
Yeah,
going
buses.
by.
Yeah, I mean, if the price of Remco Evenepoel getting close to winning a Tour de France is 100 kilometers of time trialing, I regretfully sign my name on that deal with the devil.
Me too. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, a stroll down Storer Street and sordid tales therein. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Michael Storer. We have multiple Michael Storer stories.
Where do we want
today.
to start?
I think we want to start with the racing one.
Okay.
Let's start with the what's the podcast called?
The Hot Seat Podcast.
Hot Seat Podcast. On the Hot Seat Podcast, we got an interview with Michael Storer and some spicy bits. Turns out Michael Storer is a spicy guy. And what was he saying about Tadej Pogačar?
Loose lips sink ships, but not if you're Michael Storer, because after a whole Tour de France of, keeping himself to himself, no problem with that, quiet guy. Well,
No. Sorry, I'm going to correct you there because Michael Storer has been spicy during the tour as well. On the day that Julian Alaphilippe thought that he'd won,
what did he
Michael
say?
Storer won the Combativity Award, thought that he could have won the stage, and got angry at Victor Campenuts for blocking his breakaway attempts.
Really?
Yeah, so there was some spicy interviews around then as well.
Okay, I retract.
But otherwise,
he's the most quietly spicy boy in the whole peloton, which is why we love him.
That's true. That is true. Okay, so Michael Storer was on this podcast. Only read the quotes, haven't listened to it. But he was given some dishing about from someone who was in the GC group, the perspective that he had on the tactics of UAE Team Emirates and Tadej Pogačar, mostly around the fact that Pogačar and UAE, according to information passed to Michael Storer, which I kind of like how he said, I had some info, as if he is simultaneously rider and reporter, as that, makes a change from rider / podcaster, but we'll take rider / reporter.
He stood this one up.
Yep. Checked us outside to see if it was raining. It was, and at least in the last few days. On the Super Bangers stage, he was told that, he saw that UAE were doing their thing, riding full gas all day, defensive racing, as UAE said they would, to protect Tadej Pogačar's yellow jersey. But then on the last climb, apparently the call came down or around, through UAE Team Emirates to not try and win the stage and let it go to the break, because this is the info that he got. I'm just making sure I read this properly. Apparently, team management decided that it was best that Pogačar didn't win the stage to keep the French fans on side. Apparently, they didn't, that fans had started to boo Pogačar and they didn't like being booed. So they decided that he shouldn't win the stage. And then he didn't win a stage again after Périgueux, which was the day before Super Bangers, I believe. So weird. This, booing the dominant rider has happened before, right?
All the time. We haven't gotten the full Froome level, dudes running with giant syringes next to Pogačar
or dressed up as an inhaler. Yeah.
which is probably coming, let's be honest. It's sort of inevitable, I think. So Pogačar told us in a press conference that he wanted to win a whole bunch of stages, basically. This was after the Haute stage. And then he proceeded to not.
He won Périgueux, the time trial.
He won Périgueux, yep.
But then he finished second twice.
Time trial's a different thing because it's just, mano a mano, right? It had nothing to do with tactics. Whereas whenever tactics came into play or a decision would affect whether he could win the stage or not, the whole rest of the race, he didn't win one. And I had sort of assumed that this is because his team was actually kind of struggling to control everything. Not fully struggling, but they're missing some key riders at that point. Niels Pollitt can only do so much, basically. But this sort of lends a whole nother layer to that story, which is I haven't previously heard of Tadej Pogačar caring all that much about what the fans have thought of him, largely because I think up until this summer, he's been viewed pretty positively in general.
Yeah, when he had that initial period of dominance before Vingegaard was properly on the scene,
Yeah.
there was a little bit, and Pogacar has at various times referenced the haters, which I think people of his generation like to do. But yeah, this is definitely okay. He's on 21 stage wins. He's 26. He could easily, supposedly easily get to Mark Cavendish's record. But I think what we're seeing here is that, Pogacar proved a point as well, finishing only like 20 seconds before the guy he let win the stage, which we now kind of have a bit more inkling that is what happened.
Yeah.
And that's probably what pissed him off and made him bored and tired, is that he was like, I still have to do all this work, but I don't even get to win, so what's the point? Which probably also gives you an insight into when he eventually, slips off his physiological peak and he can't win anymore, we'll probably see him say goodbye very quickly.
I think that this tour was interesting because we, for the first time, had this glimpse of Tadej Pogacar where he was almost defensive about the fact that he was winning a lot. And there was this press conference he gave before the Super Banger stage where he was talking about how, well, I'm paid a lot of money to win all of these stages. All of the team staff that I'm working for, or that are working for me, I guess, we're all trying to achieve this goal together. So it's not really up to me to decide if I'm just going to give away these stages or not.
I think that was a bit of a cop-out, to be honest.
Yeah, perhaps. But I think the interest there is in the self-awareness and maybe in his understanding that there is this shifting in perception of him from being this fun guy to being someone that is almost too dominant, and that becoming boring rather than exciting for the sport.
Yeah. I mean, personally, from like a PR perspective, I think it's the wrong move anyway. Like, if the French public is going to turn against you because of your dominance, a couple extra stage wins is not going to make or break that. Winning the Tour de France by 4 minutes, where it looks like you probably could have won it by 8, that's what's actually going to impact that, I think. And so, I don't see any real point in him giving those away. We're trusting on Michael Storer's reporting abilities here. I do think that it's possible in this game of telephone, in a peloton going 40k an hour over mountains, that something was lost in translation. But if this was indeed the call that was sent down to essentially like stop winning bike races, I do think it's I think it's an error on their part. I don't think it's going to do anything. And I think that, we've talked about Pogacar and his desire to kind of have this longer, like what is his legacy, right? Can he break Cavendish's win record? And 3 more wins this month or in July would have been 3 closer to that mark. And 3 is a lot. Like 3 is, when he starts to tail off, which he will, they all do, getting the last 3 might be the hardest part for him. So I think that, I don't know. I think it's a slightly foolish thing to make that call mid-race.
Counterpoint.
Yeah.
If you could preempt 100 roadside cups of French piss from being thrown at you over the next decade.
But I don't think it will.
But
yeah.
But it might.
Yeah, but the only way to do that is to come in second over and over and over again, and then you will be loved by the French public, right?
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Well, either way, Michael Storer is definitely on. Do you remember last year there was the supposed UAE shit list of riders who'd wronged them, which then they were like, no, it doesn't exist. Obviously it exists. Every team has that list. But I like the idea of Nils Pollitt as sort of the large dog with the big teeth, and then Michael Storer is the small sort of Paris Hilton sized dog, just cruelly enwrapped within the mouth of the big Nils Pollitt dog, just gasping for its life. And we need to make sure we protect Michael Storer.
Yep.
Before he is wrapped in Nils Pollitt's gnashes, he's just been nipping at their heels and intercepting their radio transmissions. He's got all the goss.
Who knew?
I think Michael Storer is my favorite bike rider from this Tour de France.
Who else is there? I've already forgotten all of them. Well, what about we name some guys in After Dark today? We
Okay.
can decide who's the highest risers and the fastest sinkers
Okay.
of our list.
Let's name some guys.
Our personal shit list.
There is a significantly larger and more impactful Michael Storer story.
Yes.
That we simply must get to, and this is Michael Storer, Egg Thief. And so
Yeah.
well, Ian, you set this one up for me. So give me a bit of backstory, and then maybe we'll do a dramatic reading. Should we do a dramatic reading?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we should. So this story is something that we did some pretty diligent reporting on over about 5 days. At the
Capital
Tour de
J.
France.
Capital J reporting.
Jonny and I. So it began with a tip-off that every time Michael Storer was on screen, Carlton Kirby, the commentator for TNT Sports, would bring up this anecdote about Michael Storer stealing a boiled egg from him at the Tour of the Alps. And that's the kind of little nugget which you don't just present to somebody like, say, me, and expect to let it slide. Like, everything about that is intriguing. It's a specific allegation. There is a time, there is a place, there is a person, and there's two people that we can talk to and figure out what the hell is going on here.
And that person was like aiming for the podium at the Tour de France.
Yeah. Well, maybe if it had some more eggs, he would have got there.
Maybe.
So Carlton Kirby's version of the story, we slid into his DMs, or rather, Jonny did, and we got quite a florid account, I would say, of Michael Storer stealing his eggs, or his egg. Jonny, do you want to... Can you do the voice?
Oh, florid. Is there a script for me to read from here, or what,
Well,
what
I
am I saying?
can. I can send it to you.
I was quickly googling whether florid was an adjective of Florida or meant something else, and turned out it meant something else. So I'm quite relieved. Although I imagine that Carlton probably does like a Hawaiian shirt. Yeah, I can read this. I mean, the text exchange with Carlton Kirby, I think that's my second now, 2-time Carlton Kirby texter. Amongst the most fun text conversations I've been in, where it is exactly like the commentary, where it's just great. There's all this extra sort of pomp and gadgets and gizmos, and it's great.
Okay, so we got into Carlton Kirby's WhatsApp messages, and we said, can you confirm that you have been accusing Michael Storer of stealing your egg at the Tour of the Alps? And can you tell us everything about what happened there? And then he came back with the following.
A classic technique by the miscreant. I'd put an egg in the multi-boiler, and as I was heading back to collect it, Michael asked how I was doing and lulled me into a false sense of security with compliments. Hey mate, you're a legend. Next, where's the next question? I peeled off and plopped a slice of whole wheat into. He says he types whole meat, but I imagine it's autocorrect. So whole wheat bread
Or whole
into
meal.
the
Could be whole meal.
or whole meal. Oh yeah, good point.
Or could
anyway,
be a whole slice of meat, in which case this is the maddest breakfast.
this is also classic distraction tactics. Into the roller toaster and went to get my egg. ... All caps. 5 exclamation marks. Gone. There was no one else in the room. Suddenly, I realised that the choir boy looks simply mask a dialed-in predator. Breakfast was clearly a race for my egg, and I lost. Michael went on to win the Tour of the Alps. I'd like to think that is, in some small way, I am part of that win. Fantastic.
Really good. So I, armed with this knowledge, we went to the Tudor bus and stood around there for quite some time one morning in a town that I don't remember the name of and probably wouldn't like if I did. And then the press officer came out, and she was quite nice, and she said, I'm sorry, Michael is in the office. And basically I wasn't allowed to talk to Michael Storer about the egg that he'd stolen because he was in the toilet laying an egg of his own. And
I was wondering if you're going to bring this up or save it after dark, but we just put it in the main show. Great.
No, that's fine. So then we spent another couple of days trying to talk to Michael Storer about the egg and getting rebuffed. And then the press officer was getting a little bit annoyed by my persistence at showing up at the bus to ask a question which wasn't important to anybody. No, to anybody. I'll just leave it there. And then finally she was like, no, you need to go to the mix zone. And the mix zone we probably talk about it a bit on the podcast, but for those who aren't across the logistics of Tour de France journalism,
It's a terrible place.
It's the worst place in the world. It's a weird cordoned off strip of like metal railing where reporters are forced into, and then they stand there along the railing waiting for the riders they want to talk to go past. And then other journalists stick their microphones in the face of the rider that you're trying to ask your questions to, steal your stories, and then the whole point of you standing there to get a story, which you think is fun, is gone. But luckily, that morning, Michael Storer wasn't being spoken to by anybody else. So I called him over and I said, I was a little bit, not panicked, that's the wrong word, but I was...
Apprehensive?
Not apprehensive. I think I just came in too hot. I think that's what we'd say. So instead of leading into him, I think I assumed
Do we have audio of
that
this interaction?
I haven't listened to it. I'm too embarrassed to listen to it. Maybe there'll be audio of it, but
Can we just stick it in the show? Or is it too embarrassing?
It's probably too embarrassing.
Have we found your limit of being embarrassed?
Well,
Great.
I think the problem was that I just sort of accosted him and I was like, Michael, I've got a very serious question for you. And then I think he was a little bit anxious, or he was, because it sounded like I was asking him something quite serious.
Yeah.
And then I said, Carlton Kirby has been on the TV commentary accusing you of stealing his egg at the Tour of the Alps. Do you have any comment on this allegation?
Why would you do
And
this?
he said, his egg? And I said, apparently there was a boiled egg. And then I realized that I'd scared him a little bit, because this is the first time I've ever spoken to the man, and this is a deranged way to begin a conversation with anybody, let alone Michael Storer. So then I sort of segued into something which I think is interesting and relevant for our interests here, that I have read that he is a vegan.
Okay.
Which would mean that he doesn't eat eggs.
Yeah,
So Carlton
true.
Kirby could just be making all this shit up. I don't know. So just to get him back on side, I talked to an alleged vegan about his favorite subject, his veganism, and I said, "Are you a vegan?" And then he said, "No, I'm plant-based because vegan is restrictive and this is more flexible." I do eat eggs. And I said, "Did you eat eggs at the Tour of the Alps?" And he said, "No."
This is
And
real
then I
gotcha
said,
journalism right here.
I just went in way too hard. I said, "Do you have any photographic proof of not eating an egg at the Tour of the Alps?" Which is like kind of being asked to prove a negative, and it's impossible. But and then he said no proof, and I conceded that that's probably fair enough.
Was he enjoying this conversation by the end of it, or was he still not enjoying this conversation?
I'd say that he was coming around by this point, but he was still, I'd say, cautious, concerned, maybe understanding that there was a bit of fun being had, but not sure if he was the victim.
A random man with a mustache you've never seen in your life being like, "I have a serious question for you. Did you steal an egg?" Credit to him for sticking around.
In the end, he said that he wouldn't have had an egg at breakfast because he never has an egg at breakfast.
Never, ever. Really?
I think Michael Storer strikes me as a creature of habit, and I choose to believe that if there's one man in the peloton that could give you a play-by-play of what his routine is in the morning, it is Michael Storer. He will tell you, "No, I do not eat an egg." And do you want to guess what he did have for breakfast that morning?
A big gulp of air.
Cocoa Pops and soy milk kind of guy.
Oh, okay.
So this returns our Cocoa Krispies or Cocoa Pops story.
Oh yeah, it does.
What the hell is a Cocoa Crispy?
Same thing.
Same thing. Yeah. Well, not quite same thing.
Off brand, no.
It's Rice Krispies are smaller. Now we've gone after dark accidentally on this segment.
Cocoa Krispies.
So I think I have an interest in Michael Storer becoming a friend of the podcast, because he provides spicy quotes out of the peloton. He, as we're saying, like, is a very good bike racer. He was on the podium for most combative, right? At least once.
Yeah.
It's a good bike racer, and willing to push back on Ian's bullshit, which I think is a
doesn't shriek in his presence.
So, but I worry now that we've gotten off of the wrong foot. with
The
Michael
I
Storer.
I'm pretty sure we have.
I'm pretty sure we have, and I'm also pretty sure that after what he presumably thought would be an innocuous interview on the Hot Seat podcast has now turned into a full news cycle across cycling media in the doldrums of early August. So I think Michael Storer is in his iterative Icarus phase, where he will. Everyone eventually, every rider makes this sort of boo-boo unless they stop, caring. So I imagine this may be the first and last interesting tidbit we hear from Michael Storer for a while.
Is this they're shitting themselves moment?
Might be.
That's really unfortunate because part
Simon
of the
Yates
reason we liked him is because
quote,
he, like not even just these instances, he kind of spoke his mind, and we like that. But Ian, I think you messed it up.
I've broken the friendship before it's even a friendship.
I think you can, Ian. I believe you can turn it around.
Can we?
Ian's got it.
So what is the conclusion of this the egg story then? Where's the truth? Where does the truth lie? Because
I'm not a judge, Caley.
Yeah. If you're playing one on TV, where would you end up on this one?
I think that I side with Michael Storer, actually.
We should,
because Carlton Kirby makes some wild assumptions. I've looked up the dining room where the breakfast buffet was, and it seems wrong that there would just be him and Michael Storer and nobody else, no other tutors, no other team staff.
They could have all been sat down. He may have meant that they were the only two in the area where you get your food.
Yeah, but if you're getting a compliment from Michael Storer about how good a bloke you are or what a legend you are, you're not going to see, I don't know, Matteo Trentin sneaking in behind him and stealing your egg. Also,
pretty impressive to recognise visually a commentator, because usually it's not really there. You don't know. Maybe Carlton Kirby was, I don't know what he's doing, talking out loud on his way to get the egg.
Around the buffet.
Commentating what he was doing as he was doing it.
Oh, yes, I will have some whole meat.
Oh, there's my whole meat.
I have pulled up the start list for Tour of the Alps, and specifically the Tudor Pro Cycling team.
Oh, okay, here's our answer. Larry Warbass. Obviously.
Who, if not Michael Storer, the egg thief, who
Larry Warbass
was the egg thief?
Thief of fun, journalistic practice, and eggs.
We've got Michael Storer, Lucas Ericsson, Florian Stork, Larry Warbass, Robin Donze, and Arno Wallenborn.
Well, Florian Stork is immediately a name I don't trust, and I can't tell you why. Mm-hmm. But Larry Warbass is obviously the villain here.
I think also that there's a certain... and I'm sorry to our American listeners and any Americans on the call right now, but there is a level of breakfast buffet entitlement where you'll be like, yeah, I'm going to steal that boiled egg.
Oh, yeah, someone, obviously the staff here, made this egg for me because I tipped them, $40 on my way out. Yeah, right, agreed.
Enough anti-Americanism.
Usually I don't get away with this on Thursday because I'm outnumbered 2-1. Well, you asked the question, Caley. I mean,
I did.
We're just giving the answers.
No, so if not Michael Storer, then definitely Larry Warbass. I think we should follow this story wherever it may lead us. We're going to have to get in touch with Larry and find out if he stole an egg.
I think this should be a whole off-season courtroom drama where, from the listeners, we assemble a jury and they get to decide. And some of us can play judges, some of us can play lawyers.
I did think of sliding into the inbox of the hotel and asking for CCTV footage of the breakfast buffet.
You should have.
But I couldn't narrow the window down that precisely, so it seemed a bit of a.
Oh, I'm sure Carlton could. I'm sure we should reach back out and be like, best guess, which day do you think this was?
Well, the problem there is that I was planning to publish this story today.
No, publish it. This will be the follow-up.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Just grainy CCTV footage of Michael Storer interacting with Carlton Kirby.
CCTV footage.
All right, that's it. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the Transcontinental had its youngest ever winner, and I am headed straight for Corrections Corner. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. The Transcontinental, which is a race across Europe, has its youngest ever winner. Jonny, who are we talking about?
We're talking about Victor Bosonei, who won the Transcontinental race in 10 days, 16 hours, and 38 minutes. The youngest ever winner. I wish I had his age here. I think from memory he's like 22, 23. This year's race was a bit of a departure from... I mean, they change the course every year, but at least... And usually they come like down from Belgium, I think. But this year they started in the northwest of Spain. They actually made the riders... Because there's bits of parkour where you have to go on that bit to complete the course. And the race heads west to east. But they actually, for the start, made the riders go west out to the coast, and then they were set free. So like a bit of like a head fuck to begin with. But then it was through across the top of Spain, like along the pilgrimage where everyone walks. I can't remember the name.
The Camino del Santiago.
Yes, thank you. So it's kind of like that country. Then they went over a bunch of Pyrenean climbs, like the Obisque, the Tourmalet, something else. Then across the like lower Alp, like underneath Ventoux or over like above Ventoux, bit of Alps action down through Italy, and then the race kind of for the ones like in the front centered on whether you're going to make the ferry from Bari across to Albania, I believe. So there was this huge race to get to the ferry in time. At this point, our winner Victor, he was 30 minutes late for the 11 p.m. ferry. But luckily, managed to convince them to let him buy a ticket. So he'd missed check-in, but managed to. And basically, that meant that it was him versus this other guy. Really sorry, I can't remember their name. I've been trying to get on top of this all morning. I think it was a German guy, and then they were like neck and neck, kind of across Albania, all the way to the coast, like another 600 kilometers east. And he eventually won it. But the fun thing about Victor is that last year he competed. But he, I think, got like hundreds of kilometers down the road and then realised he'd left his passport at a cafe.
Oh, no.
And you need that to, like, obviously, get around. And that's one of the things you have to have. So he had to go back. So then he obviously had a much worse sort of final placing. But he still, I think, managed to finish it, or at least, like, retrod the route. So I think he actually went over the Alps 3 times because it was, like, over the other side of the Alps. Crazy dude. This time, he managed to forget his... you have a little booklet where you get your stamps when you go through all the checkpoints, and he got to a checkpoint, was rummaging through his bag, and realised that he'd forgotten that.
Is he the Jasper Philipsen of the Transcontinental? Is that what we're saying?
Maybe. And then what happened? Apparently, like they have some great race reports on the Transcontinental website, which go into huge detail, and I've been spending a morning reading them. And apparently, his like eyes were welling up, where it's like not again. But luckily, those cards, I think it's called a brevet card, I can't remember. That's not a piece of equipment that you have to have. Like, you can get a replacement one. So luckily they gave him a replacement one, and he carried on his way. But yeah, great race. I'm currently writing something up about that because they have these amazing race reports, but they're just really dense for like the real hardcore fans. So I'm trying to separate out. But yeah, amazing like mini stories in there. There was a guy who, I think he's a British guy who. He's on his bike. He's only like 21. I think he got hit by a car or something, was in a coma for 2 weeks, and then through cycling managed to relearn, put his brain back together kind of through riding a bike, and then found ultra. But then he had to DNF, I think 6 to 9 days in, I can't remember what it was, because he was eating so many sweets that like his tooth like cracked or something like that. Just like nasty. There's a guy who was like the first one to attack, kind of, which is a weird way to phrase it, but like straight out the gate. And then he's like a retired paratrooper who did over 7,000 jumps. So like amazing race for all these nuts people in a good way. But yeah, youngest ever winner. Riders will still be coming in for days, even weeks. Like you can go past the elapsed time, like we have to get to the checkpoint, but then people just carry on and then reach the end like a month later. So
super cool race.
Babbled on a bit, but it's super cool.
No,
Love it.
one of our favorite kind of ultras.
Really want to go.
Yeah, all the ultras have sort of like slightly different rule sets, right? They'll kind of bring their own regulations to the game.
Yeah,
and we just really like this one's fun. It's just sort of it seems like it leads to some of the best and most interesting racing and some of the craziest stories for whatever
There
reason.
was, I think this was Victor. I think he nearly got chucked off because he also won the green jersey, which is basically if you get to the start without having only using not going by planes, not traveling by planes, which is kind of cool. And so he traveled with his bike, and I think he was worried that he damaged like a spare mech or something. So what he did was order one online to a like a locker, like those lockers you can order post to that are next to like a bakery or whatever, and then collected that. But luckily, divulged this information before he'd had to use it, and so could give it in to the race organizers, so he didn't circumvent the no help, because it's all self-supported. And then another guy I think nearly got disqualified because he'd mentioned how he'd had his friends helping from home, but then turns out that they were just I think chatting. It wasn't help, no route planning and stuff like that.
There's been
So super weird.
lots of sort of controversy around what defines help and all. Same thing with the Colorado Trail, for example.
It's all part of the fun,
all part of
that
the fun.
whole But yeah, amazing.
It's
Sorry, I waffled on there, but it's great.
No, it's great. It's the closest thing to the what the Tour de France was when it first started. I think that's one of the things I really love about it.
That's what they're trying to. That's the
Tour de
spirit they're
Europe.
trying to bring back in. Yeah. And they go and they went over the Strade Bianche course this year. They do a lot of honouring the past of cycling in Europe stuff. So it's super cool.
Should we get to the errors that I regret? Let's get to the errors that I regret.
Please. This has been usually it's me picking up the sorries. But,
it is Guadeloupe.
Yes.
'Cause
Who
it's in
knew?
French. Who knew?
Wait.
It was the internet that lied to me.
Well, because your American internet was giving you a different place called Guadalupe.
City. Yes, a city that is Spanish speaking, and so therefore it's pronounced differently. So that's on me. I regret the error. I also regret an error, which I'm still. Someone told me this. So the thing that I said in the last show about, was this even in the free bit? I can't remember. About small French children's glasses and how they
It was in the free bit.
Okay, and how someone had told me at some point that they all came from some sort of government source, because they literally every single kid is the same little glasses. French member Raphael says no, and corrected me that the state has a Roglic attitude about glasses in general, which that's a direct quote from Raphael, and basically that no, the state is not buying all these glasses, and so the theory then is that all little kids have the same glasses because they're probably just a cheap little glasses, and they're cute. They're cheap and they're cute, and so therefore all the parents buy the same ones. I regret the error.
The explanation was more thorough than that, which I love. And often it's Raphael who steps up and explains France to us. And it's just, how would I ever get to know the intricacies of putting glasses on French children if it wasn't for
Would you like to read the rest of it?
The different subsidy rates for frames versus lenses, for example.
It's great. Yeah. I'm not being facetious. I love this shit. And no, we will not elaborate, because you got to be a paid up member and in the Discord to be getting these sorts of nuggets.
All right. Well, let's head to After Dark. Speaking of, I hope everybody enjoyed the free show today. If you like even more, if you want an extended version of this same episode, it's a segment we call After Dark. You need to sign up. You need to go to the member feed, escapecollective.com/join. Today, we're going to be talking about a little Mo Michael store, because why not? We've also got Brailsford. We got a long walk on Brailsford Beach coming up. We've got Froome doing a hot dog impression, hot dog guy impression. Difference, and a whole bunch of other good stuff coming up in After Dark. But you got to sign up. And I should mention this because a ton of you signed up over the course of July, and you're all up for renewal at this point. If you let your membership lapse, we remove you from the member feed. Rough, I know, but That's how it works. So make sure that you've got auto-renew turned on so you don't lose access. All right, we're going to head into After Dark. If you are on the free feed, join us by going to escapecollective.com/join. Otherwise, we'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.